Hi, this is Carla and welcome to Lesson 5 of Kids Art Week. This has been a great week. I've loved seeing all your work, and today we are finishing up with an artist named Pablo Picasso. He was born in 1881 in Spain, and he spent most of his working life in Paris, and he lived to be 91 years old, so he did everything. He started out very realistic, painting, then he moved to sculpture and clay, and he invented with Georges Braque's both cubism and collage, and we're going to combine those two a little bit today. Here is an example of some of his first cubist works, and they're characterized by a couple of things. One of them is sort of emphasizing the geometric forms of things, so that even the trees had sort of, boxy or triangular shapes. Here's like a still life. The other thing that characterizes cubism is the lack of perspective, and almost as if you can look at things in one picture. You can look at things from the front and from the side and from the top and from the bottom. You can look at it all at once in one picture, and they just sort of jumble it all up into one picture. Here is a sample of a portrait of a woman where she has her two eyes as if she's facing forward, but then you can see that she's actually in profile. She's really looking off to the left. So that's an example of a woman both looking at the camera and not at the camera, and Picasso has melded it into one image. Another thing to think about with Cubism is it doesn't need to be realistic. They're really going for feeling and trying to get the whole of the feeling. And it's a painting. It's not supposed to be realistic. They want it to be kind of weird. So we're going to make some dogs this time that are going to be kind of weird. I wanted to just point out this lady. She has one small eye over here and one eye about 3 times the size of this eye. And we're going to do that with our Picasso dogs as well, because our dogs that we end up with do not need to look perfect, okay? So what we're going to need today are 2 crayons. You could use other crayons too, but the ones you'll really need are white and black. You'll need some scissors. You will need possibly a paintbrush and some white paint. This is tempera paint, but you can use acrylic paint or white gesso, doesn't matter. Glue stick. And you need a selection of papers, possibly from your Motherwell exercise. I just grabbed some from my stack from that earlier lesson. And then we're going to, if you have it, do our piece on a dark piece of paper. So if you have some dark blue or black construction paper, this is really fun. I'm having you switch the paper partly because Picasso was very adventurous in his art, and he tried so many different things, and this is one way that we can try a different thing and see how it works. So let's get started. The idea is I'm going to have you cut out the features of the dog and place them on the paper pretty randomly, and then we'll make a dog out of it, and I'll show you what I mean in a minute. But first, this is what we do. I'm going to have you cut out an eye. So here's my first eye. Okay, and now I want to make another eye 3 times bigger than that first eye. And I do that partly because Picasso had different size eyes, but also because you have a tendency, I know this, I've taught this a long time, to do tiny little eyes, and I want at least some big shapes, okay? So let's do a big eye. And like we learned with Motherwell, we want big shapes and little shapes to balance it out. So next you're gonna cut a tail, and this can be any kind of tail. I'm gonna pretend my dog has a really curly tail. Okay, so we've got an eye, a tail, Next, you need a nose or a snout, and the snout is the part of the dog that has its mouth. So here's, I'm going to use this one. I might have his mouth open. Maybe. We'll just see how it looks. I don't know. But this is my version of a nose, a dog's nose. So now we need an ear, one ear. And then the last thing you're going to do is a paw or a leg. Okay, so here's my paw and my leg, and I did a leg with a foot on it. And then you're just going to set that stuff aside because that's all you need for the moment. And what I'm going to do now is something that I think is kind of strange, but I found that sometimes if I close my eyes, I make better artwork. So what I'm going to have you do is pull out your collage elements, take your white crayon, close your eyes, and draw 6 little dots on your paper, anywhere on the paper. 5, 6. Okay. So now the idea is I'm going to glue these down, and each piece has to cover one of the dots. So I'm going to get a piece of scratch paper here so that I can glue. And I'll just start. I don't even know what to do. I think I'm going to just start with the leg here. And again, you want your glue to go right on the edges. And I'm going to cover this dot with that leg. Next, I'm going to do the nose. You can do it in any order that you want. So at this point, I know that I'm doing a dog, but I don't know how it's going to come out. I don't know yet how it's going to come out. So you've got 2 down. Now I want you to turn your paper this way and do the same thing. Keep going. This is supposed to be an eye. I still don't know how this is going to be a dog, but you know, we'll see. Now I'm going to turn my paper one more time, so you're going to turn it 3 times. And the reason I have you turn the paper is so that you don't get too worried about what your dog looks like at this point, because you just don't know. And this is just a way to keep it so that you don't know, because some artists can really see what they're going to paint beforehand, and some artists like to keep it a mystery until the very last moment. And what kind of artist are you? You might be both, but I'm certainly the kind of artist that likes to keep it a mystery until the very last moment, and this is one way I do it. If you want, you can overlap the elements on top of each other, but as long as you cover one white dot with every single piece of collage. And now we're on to the last one. Okay, so I have my pieces of collage here, and now the next part of the assignment is a looking part. And I don't know if you know this, but so much of art is looking. Almost more of art is really looking at things rather than even doing. So I'm going to look at this with it looking this way, and I'm trying to think dog, but I'm not too upset about it if it doesn't look like a dog. And I'm going to turn it this way. Turn it that way. And that way. And this one is a little bit harder than some of them. Some will be really easy to find a dog, and others will be harder, but I have found a dog. But I don't know exactly how it's going to look, but I kind of know how it's look. I am going to connect this line to this. And I'm gonna draw some eyes right here and right here, because for some reason this whole thing felt more like a dog to me. And as you can see, I've used my tail now as his nose, and his the big eye I cut out is now an ear. I'm gonna put him with his leg there. It doesn't even really make that much sense, but this could be a little paw too. Okay, yeah, I like that. And then I can draw another paw there if I want to. And I think it needs a big nose right there, maybe black. Okay, so I have drawn now, just with collage and line, a dog. And I had no idea it was going to look like this, but I like it way better than if I had thought about it ahead of time, I think. And I want to show you a couple more examples of some dogs that were made just with collage and then adding crayon. Here's one where I only added a tiny bit of crayon to his face and a little bit on the ear, and then it was done. And that's one thing also that you need to kind of learn as an artist, is to know when to stop, when you're finished. Here's another example of one that was done just with line and collage. But some of you may get to a point where you have gotten to this stage and you don't like it. And so I want to give you a second tip that you can do only if you don't like the dog that you've created at this stage. And that is, I'm going to have you add white paint even on top of some of the collage, and pull it all together. It's still the same shape, but because you've added the white paint over everything, it makes it suddenly look like one animal, and it often looks really nice that way. Here's another one. I used to have the lines and I liked it, but when I added the paint, I liked it a lot better. So I'm going to add paint to the one that I drew, even though I kind of like it how it is. But I do want to show you how it would look if I went ahead and added the paint. I actually like a lot of these colors, but this big orange here is a little distracting. So I'm going to go ahead and just start painting my dog's snout more of a white. And I'm also using paint. I'm using tempera paint, and I'm not using very much water on my brush. And the reason for that is I don't want the paint to get so wet that it would pull up the collage. I don't have to cover everything, and I might even leave like a spot or something, but I do think that this dog will probably be pretty nice with this paint. Okay. Okay, I like him. I'm going to add a little bit more to his leg. And then when this dries, I'll see if I can do it now, but you might need to let it dry. But you can use your black crayon now to add a few more details if you want to, just to define them. I was going to do it on this guy and add just a little bit more, maybe like a little eyebrow or some black to his nose over here. Okay, so that's it. I want you to really enjoy this. It's really, you're not supposed to know what it looks like until the very end. And I can't wait to see your dogs. I can't wait, and thank you so much for signing up for Kids Art Week. I'll see you next year, I hope, and I can't wait to see you online.